I hope you have enjoyed the wonderful session of Michael Pang. And now our next presenter is Rubaiyat Aakbar. Hi, Rubaiyat. How are you?
Hi, yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you so much for asking. And thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, Rubaiyat Aakbar is a head of IT and cybersecurity from DocDoc, and he's an aspiring CISO with 17 plus years expertise and careers spanned across financial, healthcare, and insurance technology industry. He's an emerging thought leader in cybersecurity, and he will be sharing his expertise with us on IT security and organizational resilience. So, Rubaiyat, you can start your presentation now after sharing your screen. I cannot hear you, Rubaiyat.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. And thank you so much for joining us, Rubaiyat. It's an honor for us to have you as a keynote speaker and to learn from your expertise.
Okay, sure. Thank you. It's
Good
also
luck.
honor to join this forum and get chance to speak with the audience. Thanks for
Uh,
inviting me.
no problem. Pleasure is all mine. So good luck. Stage is all yours now.
Okay, thank you. So you can see the screen, right?
Yes, I can perfectly see your screen.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are joining from this forum. It was wonderful to be here and talk about cybersecurity and specifically about cyber resiliency. So, Saina already introduced me, so I'm not going to talk about much. So today we'll be talking about cyber resiliency and how it can affect our operational resiliency in terms considering IT security. So we don't have that much time, so 25 minutes. So I will share some knowledge based on my experience and public domain knowledge. And I want to illustrate some examples. So this is not something we're not going to going for any specific example or not. It's more like a generic idea. What is cyber resiliency? And if someone wants to improve their cyber resiliency, how can we do that? Okay. So before going to that, now we live in an extensively digital world. So not only laptop, we use devices, gadgets, wearables, almost everything we use are now in way or other way connect to the internet. So, and obviously when we're exposed to internet, there may be threats. So how safe we feel around these things, right? So I don't know if you don't know it, not. So actually every minute there are some 18 cyber attacks here and there. So there will be always someone trying to attack, someone trying to expose someone's rich data. And that's around the world. So it's quite an unsafe world. And we need to be very careful about that. And if you check some recent data from various research organizations and cybersecurity service providers, for example, in Singapore, the cyber attacks increased almost 145% in 2021 compared to the previous year. It's maybe one reason that many of us become remote worker or working from remotely and in a hybrid model. So now a lot of corporate data being accessed from home network, and obviously home network was not designed to be secure compared to a corporate network. So that might be one factor that we have heavily factoring increasing in cyber attacks. And data breach, since now we have a lot of people who is working from remote, and there is a more chance that any personal devices or accessing the corporate network from a home device might be easier for a hacker's perspective to compromise and get some data leakage. So the IBM found that now resolving any data breach around a remote worker is cost 1 million more than other things. Why? Because now hackers has more chance to target, and so obviously database and securing a lot of external environment is not that easy. And Cisco is assuming that in next year there may be 15.4 million DDoS attack. By DDoS means distributed denial of service. So which is aimed to disrupt some service so that we cannot, the legitimate users cannot access or avail service when they needed it. So that's why cyber resiliency is very important. And we just look into this map. So it's there are other maps. So there are a lot of service providers, they maintain these, but just looking at this. So based on various network traffic and other things, we can find that how in many countries they are getting attacked or probably trying to DDoS attack. So you can see that a lot of attacks. So these red lines means traffic. So heavy traffic going on from somewhere in the United States to Japan or something like that. So this indicates probably an indicator of attack or something like that. So these providers use this kind of information connected to the devices used by many companies users and try to create a threat map. There are other threat map available, but this is just to give a glimpse that while we're talking here, every second, every minute, someone is trying to attack somewhere, and we need to be very uh, alert on those things. So in many companies, like a thinking like that, okay, we are not attacked, we haven't been breached, there's no incident with us, so why we should invest that much in cyber resiliency? So I'll give you one analogy. So even though most of the buildings, most of the premises we live or we work have not been under fire, or not, there may not been not a fire incident in last 20 years, but does that mean they will not invest in fire and safety? It's not. Every building will come with this facility security, whether there is an incident or not. So the history of not having an incident could not be a justification for not investing, because other companies, other enterprises are being attacked, and we know from real data that the attack is always going on. So that's one reason we should invest in cyber resiliency. There are some other reasons why. For example, in last year, so I'm talking about 2021, 2020 is still going. We don't have that. So there are 22 billion, more than 22 billion accounts and records compromised just alone in last year. So there's a lot of data breach incident, and those incidents resulted in compromising these accounts and records. And if you compare 5 years back, 2016, the ransomware was not that prominent, but it caused like $1 billion in damage, because ransomware encrypts data, and in many cases, the enterprises or corporations could not be able to retrieve those data. Now, this year, last year, it is $20 billion, the damage from a ransomware attack. So it's like 20 times increased in just 5 years. And average cost of database. So the last one I told about involving remote worker, but whether there is a remote worker or not, the average cost for any database is like $4.24 million. You may think, okay, I don't even have that much data, but it's not like that. The costings comes from the reputational damage, the litigation, the regulatory fine, loss of customer. Many customers will not trust you. Okay, this company has a database incident, I'll not do business with them. So thinking of a lot of factors, the average cost of this kind of database can go as much as like $4.2 million per incident. And just like ransomware attack, there's other cyber, right? Malware, phishing, social. So considering all the cybercrime damages, now total damage is like $6 trillion compared to $3 trillion in 2015. So you can see that just in 5 years, the whole threat landscape have been changed, and we're facing more and more incident, and more damage may become. So that's the reason we are going to invest in cyber resiliency, because we cannot be reactive. Okay, let some incident happen and then take action. We have to be proactive, and we have to be very strategic about how to invest. Now, how to improve those cyber resilience, where to invest? Obviously, the first point is to invest on education awareness. By education does not only mean that we do some kind of awareness training, but traditionally, or a lot of times, the high-skilled cybersecurity workforce is not there. The reason is that it's not that people is not learning it. The reason that technology changes every day. New technologies keep coming up, emerging technology coming up, new vendors coming up with new products. So to keep pace with all this new technology, new product, it's not easy to just have people understand how to secure those. For example, 5 years back, nobody was thinking that someone can hack a air conditioner. But right now, a lot of air conditioner comes with Wi-Fi connected. So if I can hack that air conditioner, I may get access to a home network or office network, and then I can use that access to breach a corporate network. So now those air conditioner manufacturers, they did not never thought, okay, my device need to be secured. I'm just giving an extra feature. Someone can remotely turn on the air conditioner. So many of those time, these devices, products, or features were not designed thinking a security concern. So that's why the education is important. You have to understand wherever new threats coming up, and the workforce who is helping you to secure this are they have to understand those things, and they have to be educated, skilled, and before they can actually effectively defend the corporation or the agents. And next time, we have to also align the cybersecurity, cyber resilience investment with the business growth and futuristic. So if the future is moving towards Internet of Things, moving towards wearable gadgets, and my company is also moving that way, then my security investment should also move that way. We cannot launch a product first and then try to invest on security to help it become secure. That it will not work. We have to go for secure by design. So you have to invest earlier, thinking how my 5 years business growth will be there. What is my future products I'm going to launch? What is the changes I'll you will bring my to be going to be bring into my organization, and then plan their cybersecurity investment in line with that changes and growth. So and then so once we have that investment, the strategic decision, the manpower, the skill is there, how to make a cybersecurity roadmap that will help me to become secure. The approach should be risk driven. Now, when we say risk driven, we have to understand, say, there may be a risk with certain product that does not going to impact everyone. It will impact only if I use it in a certain way. So we have to understand where my risk or the security risk for my company, my devices, my products, my workforce, my environment, or the way I do business, my suppliers lies. And based on those risk exposure, I have to invest that way. If I just follow a certain guideline, it will not help me. I have to follow where my risk is there, and I have to invest on high risk first, then mitigate the medium risk, and then move towards something that is lower risk. And if the company is developing application or product, as I said, we have to secure it by design. Maybe 10 years back, it was like we used to test before release. Now it's not going to work. We have to start thinking about security right from the ideation. So I want to have some ideas on my mind. I also think, okay, how to secure that idea before actually I go to start building it. So every phase of development, ideation, requirement analysis, design, architecture, coding, releasing, every phase you have to think security and add security in every layer, so that by the time the final product launch, it is secure by design and it is secured for use. Okay. As I said, there are emerging trends coming up here and there, and the new technology will come. We have to keep using new technology. There will be new approaches. So we have to be adaptive. The security program, the cyber resiliency program we have, it has to be adaptive. We cannot be just have one program and do it for all. So how we become adaptive? To become adaptive, we have to have some kind of review mechanism. So every 3 months, every 6 months, or annually, depending on type of approach we have to review those things. Okay, I have introduced this thing last year. Is this same relevant this year? Is there any change? Do you need to update any of my system? Do you have to update any of my things? Is there any new threat in the market, which may not be last year? So I did not consider it last year. So we have to think that way. So this annual review or periodic review helps. And again, every time there's a change in my product. So say, for example, suddenly we move to a hybrid model rather than on-premise model, or many of the companies are now going for cloud. So we are a cloud ready product. So when you are moving from traditional on-premise architecture to a cloud-based architecture, now you have to do understand your risk, because I'm changing environment and a lot of factors will change. So every time there is a significant change in my product, my environment, my architecture, my technology, I also have to review. This review will help us to identify where my risks are. And that's called proactive. So we are not waiting to launch it first and then try to secure it. We're trying to guess, okay, where my threat may come. If I use this technology, what is the threat points where the attackers can attack us? If I use this environment, or my customer is going to use my product only from mobile and not from desktop. So the threat landscape for a desktop user and a mobile user may not be same. For desktop user, we have a lot of security tools and devices in there, but in mobile devices, we don't really have those kind of end user tools. There may be a limitation of processing power and other things. So thinking of those environment, we have to think how we're going to secure and how we can. So once we know these things, this will allow us to improve our cyber resilience. Even there is an attack or there's an incident, there's a very good chance that our devices or product will sustain. Okay, and we also have to understand the company to company it will vary. Just this is for an example. So based on the 2021 statistics, 85% of the breach have human elements. By human elements, we mean that, for example, someone actually fooled me with a social engineering attack. Right. So social engineering is a very prominent attack. So I'll try to for example, I'll try to send an email saying, hey, there is a COVID infection here and there. Click this link to know more. So this may induce a user to click something. I may generate a call to someone. Hey, I'm calling from your bank. There's a problem with your account. Can you please, I'll send an SMS. Can you click this link? Or can you give me something, some information about you? So people are susceptible to social engineering attack. And this will actually lead at some point the account being compromised or some significant data have been leaked. And the hackers, from a hacker's perspective or attacker's perspective, it's very cheap. If I send an email to a 5,000 employee and only one person clicks, that's enough for him. No matter how much we invest in, only one person clicking something may expose an account, even though 499 people has not responded. That's why the human element is actually very critical for us. And now how to secure that human elements? It's not only just you have to send some bullet point training. If you just let them some bullet point power training, that may not be enough. So we have to have those security awareness in part of day-to-day business, day-to-day jobs. So they are constantly reminded what are the threats, and they also be able to know, okay, if this is a phishing email, how I'm going to detect it? Is it a legit? They should have the capability to detect a fake email versus legitimate email, fake call versus regular call, and website that may look like legitimate, but that may not be. So if you just train them once in a year or and for a half an hour, they may not be able to remember all those information rest of the year. So there should be some mechanism, and also there should be testing. So how we can test their resiliency, and that they're actually effectively remembering those techniques. So this is how we'll determine where to invest. And then next, as I said, and these human elements, a lot of human elements is being susceptible to phishing and social engineering. So that's where we have to invest. If we want a resilient architecture, we have to invest on these. Without investing on these elements, no matter how much backup, how much contingency, how much automated scaling up we have, our system will still be susceptible to cybersecurity attack. So this is why risk-based approach means that we have to understand what is my threat, who is my risk factors, and then plan our investment based on those things. And 10% is caused by ransomware. So ransomware is increasingly being delivered through phishing strategy also. So ransomware actually deletes or encrypts our data, and sometimes it is very almost irreversible. And a lot of time we don't have backups on whatever we do in our local devices, right? So I download something, I change some data, creating my reports, and then I got a ransomware attack. So all my data in that devices may be done. A lot of times the servers does not have real-time backup. So I say one nightly backup, so one backup at a night. And if my database is compromised or encrypted through a ransomware, then I lose 1 day's data. So this is how I would determine, use risk-based approach, understand our risk, and then determine where to invest. So once we know our risk, then we'll understand that we have to understand the business impact. What is my impact if this happens? That is actually going to drive my decision of what to do. If the business is not impacted that much, say for example, we know there is a high risk vulnerability in the mobile devices, and it can cause leaking whatever data inside the mobile. But if 99% of our customers not using mobile, or we don't even have a mobile application, then this is not impactful for us. So that's why business impact is very important. We have to understand if something happens, goes wrong, what is my impact to the business? And based on the impact, we have to understand how much we can invest to resilience. So obviously there is a cost benefit consideration. We cannot invest more than what is going to damage, right? So nobody is going to invest on an ATM machine to make it secure like a vault. If so, that's like a cost of breach divided on cost of attack. So if I find, okay, if someone wants to break an ATM machine located in a, say, any floor of any mall is $20,000, and the maximum money I have in that machine is $10,000. That means cost of attack is less than cost of breach, right? So that means it doesn't really make me sense to invest more into this ATM machine and make it secure. It's already enough secure to give me value over my asset. And third-party risk, that's very important. Now we don't just give service everything for own. We have to depend on cloud-based service provider, physical service provider, other facility provider. So if they are not secure, how can I be secure? So a lot of times the companies invest a lot in their own security, but the same level of security is not available with their suppliers. with the service providers they use is for serving their customer. That may be a big risk. Now, can every third party be very secure? That may not be possible because third party also do business, right? They can. So now, so for example, someone who is just supplying food and someone who is supplying me digital token for authentication is not same kind of vendor, right? So we have to also do a risk-driven approach. Which supplier is actually more risky in terms of customer data or security information, and who is less risky? So the partner or service partner who is more risky will work with them to make it more secure rather than working with everyone in the same level. So that this third party risk management also is a risk driven approach. We use our risk to understand how much we need from this partner and how much security we expect from them, and then we can also use this judgment to decide if I want to onboard a new partner, new service provider, if is he a critical vendor for me, is he going to access my customer data, is he going to touch point for customer, then what is the extra security measures I need. Whatever, once we have the business impact analysis, we have the risk management, we have enforced controls. Now we have to understand and see, once we implement some controls, this is not going to be last forever. World will change and the technology will change. Attackers will come up with new methodology of attacks. So we have to continuously review them. Are they working fine? Are those controls still valid? And so it is very important that we use third-party independent reviewer. Why? Because I have developed my controls, my team have been working, we have internal, so we're so much engaged with our security implementation. Sometimes it is not possible for us to have a different perspective. So if we hire someone from outside and they will come with a fresh look of eyes, and they may find some loopholes which we could not. So independent review and external review is very important. This gives us a perspective. And we use this result to improve our operations, improve our service. And by operational resiliency, it always does not mean change in technology. It can be change in process also. So what do we deliver as a process? So for example, we may think, okay, we're not going to use SMS anymore because it's not secure. So that change in process may make us more secure. We can use some certain things. Okay, we don't need to send postal emails. Nobody uses this anymore. And there's a risk that it may go to wrong hand. So by going to digital notification instead of postal email, we can reduce some kind of risk. So that's kind of process change, also a part of a decision based on these reviews. And finally, the response. So something, even though we have all this resiliency, incident detection, protection, but still things may go wrong. We may have incident, and then how to respond it. So we should have a response process, how to do it. But considering the 24/7 scenario, it is not always possible to respond manually and faster. So we should focus on, when we think of cyber resiliency, we should focus on automated response so that system can self-detect the problem, respond immediately against some threat, and restore to the normal service. So there may be some consideration like fail safe. For example, if it's a facility, we don't there is a fire, we don't want everyone to be locked down. So there is some mechanism called fail safe. So in such a case where the facility doors are there, if there is a failure, we want the door to be open so that anyone should not be trapped in there, they can come out. So that's a business condition. Do you want to fail safe or do you want to fail short? So those kinds of you decide when there's automation response so that it does not cause damage rather than restoring service. So we use these kind of things to go to a state where we are. And now, once we have all these things, how do we know that we're doing good? So that's why we need some metrics. So we need some kind of metrics on our cyber resiliency, that how well our cyber resiliency objectives are achieved. So we need some kind of measurable. So for example, we can measure like, are we having 99.5% availability on our systems? And if there is we do a drill on simulating some certain failure scenario and check, are we really able to restore from that failure scenario? And if that failure occurs, how long it takes to restore? Say our objective was to restore within 4 hours, but then we find, okay, no, it is much more complex than we thought, and the restoration is take much more than we thought. So these kind of metrics will give us to idea that whether our resiliency program is working or not, and where to improve. So there are many metrics there you can say like integrity, availability hours, the restoration process, and then least privilege access control, those things. Then what is the time to respond? So if there's just something happened, how much time we need to respond? Are we receiving alert within 5 minutes, 1 second, 10 seconds? So these response metrics can help us. And then risk. So continuously in the changing environment, we have to continuously keep assessing our risk. What is the new risk coming up, and how is it going to impact me? So this risk-based approach will always keep you to focus on the right area of your resiliency program, and then make the environment, process, product, and company more secure. Okay. So this is a wonderful metrics developed by Accenture, that where are we and where we want to be. Obviously, we don't want to be in the vulnerable quadrant. So there are like business blockers. Now, what do you mean by business blockers? Is that we focus so much on security that the business is kind of crammed, and we cannot take any decision, or we cannot make any process easy. So that may be an area where we are too secure, but it's not easy for business to do something good. But yeah, you may say, okay, it may require, for example, it's in a military organization, they don't want to make it easy, but they want the security comes fast. But if we say in a commercial business, obviously we want to have a balance. How much security we want, at the same time we want to be competitive in the market, we want to be profitable in the market. So as a security leader, you have to balance between business blocking and cyber security risk takers. Some company will take risks because they are in a business of risk taking, and where you want to be. So ideally, we want to be in cyber champion area, where there is a good balance between cyber resiliency and business objective. Our security is aligned with business growth, and we have a constant good metrics to know where we are, and we use those metrics and assessment results to improve. So I think that's all from me for today. Is there any questions? Okay, if not, then I will return back to Serena. Thank you.
Hi, Rubai. Thank you so much for your wonderful session, and it was really very interesting session. I hope everyone here have enjoyed your session. I'll ask the audience that if they're having any questions, they can ask you in the chat or in the QA session. And